Hello and welcome to the Game Design Archive with Edward and Ludwig.
Hello.
Hello, Ludwig. Today we are going to talk about why game designers hate games. Every single one of them, all of them hate games.
Yes.
There is no game designer that likes games.
No, not a
Gameplay,
single
sorry,
one.
gameplay, yeah.
Yeah, no, they love games with like story and stuff. No, just kidding. So this topic here was my idea because I've been playing Menace recently, the new tactical RPG by the devs behind Battle Brothers, and it's alright. It's a little rough. It's a little bit slow, but it's okay. But I am here in defense of Menace today, even though it's not my favorite game ever. Because I've been reading a lot of like design discussions about the game, and so one of the mechanics that Menace has is that you essentially like you have a roster of characters that you like recruit, and then you can equip them with gear and stuff, and then you send them on a mission, right? And one of the mechanics in that game is that there's like a cost to everything. So like if you're bringing a character, they have a cost to them, and if you put gear on the character, that costs something, and then if you put better gear on, they cost more, and so on and so on. And so like every mission has a cap, and then as the game progresses, that cap progresses so that you can have better characters and better gear and stuff like that. Now I understand that a lot of people probably understand that this is like necessary, but there's a lot of people in the discussions I read about the game that claim that this sort of cap is bad design. Because what they say is what can end up happening is that you'll have good gear like available in your inventory or whatever you want to call it, but you can't use it because it's too expensive. And I guess the connection I want to make here is that I a lot of times see people when they complain about things in games, they complain about what?
Yeah,
only one game, yes. No, only in Menace, no. But when they complain about stuff in games, like in serious game design discussions even, is that they complain about things that annoy them.
Yes.
Now, if you've seen previous videos of ours, you'll probably know where I'm going with this, so let me explain. This sort of... So going back to the next example, right? The people who are complaining about this like supply cost system that it's called, they are annoyed that they can't bring their best characters and their best gear and their best tanks or whatever to every single mission. And because of that, it goes back a bit to what we talked about in the episode about holistic design. They're looking at the moment, they're looking at, holy shit, this is a point of friction at the moment that is causing me annoyance, because if I could bring my best guys and my best gear, I would win this mission super easily, but because I couldn't, I'm actually struggling, and that's bad design, It's like they're very short-sighted, and they're very focused on like friction, like immediate friction. It's like any source of friction is bad design, That's sort of the point I want, or where I wanted to bring this discussion. Does this make sense, Edward?
Yes, I mean it ties into... Did we discuss... I don't remember if we did. I think we did discuss it at some point. The thing with... yeah, I guess maybe it was the holistic design one. I don't remember. But... sort of this idea that the game, like you judge things in isolation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So someone will say like, oh, this game is frustrating, right? And that is not incorrect, right? That is correct.
Mm-hmm.
At least for that person, right? The problem with that statement is that frustration probably, if you look at the whole picture, right, actually is tied to a lot of other things that you will affect if you just remove it.
Yes. And sort of to like clarify my point a little bit, because I don't think I've clarified enough why I think this is like a case of gamers or game designers hating gameplay. I think like if you were to remove this supply cost system from Menace, the game wouldn't have any gameplay basically, right? Because you could just bring everything on the mission and then you could stomp the mission and there wouldn't be any gameplay. Like it's a tactical RPG where you're like making small tactical strategic decisions in a battle, and like if you could just bring overwhelming firepower to the mission, there wouldn't be much like strategic thinking there. So like by removing the supply cap system, you would basically remove gameplay, right? And that's sort of why I say that game designers hate gameplay, because I see this with a lot of games. Like it's like, oh yeah, here's a point of friction, remove that, or otherwise I'm gonna give you a bad review or whatever they say. And then like, but if you actually remove that part, it like completely ruins the game. Now, to be clear, you could remove the supply system, whatever you want to call it, and replace it with like you could basically rebalance the game so that you never had more than what do you want to call it, like more than necessary, right? Because the thing about Menace is that you usually have way more gear and way better gear that you're allowed to use, right? And you need to like decide which pieces of gear you want for which missions. And some missions you might want a bit of stronger gear, and some missions you might want to go like, oh yeah, I just need a lot of guys to like hold this area or whatever. Anyway, so yeah. So like, you could remove the supply system and like still have a decent game, but you would have to like completely rebalance the rest of the economy, right? And I feel like in this discussion about the supply thing, that's not discussed at all. It's just like, oh yeah, this supply system makes it so that I can't bring my epic tanks to every mission, so therefore it's bad, because I want to use my epic tanks every mission. And like, that sort of thinking is very short-sighted, and I guess a sign that you hate gameplay.
I mean, it ties into other mechanics that are more, even more hated, I would say, like fatigue systems and timers and stuff like that.
Yeah, timers is a very good example, actually. Because, I'm glad you brought that up.
But fatigue systems as well, actually. I see that like, that's one of those things that designers like to say, like, no. Or, you know what I mean? They say...
Yeah.
They say that they're not good, right? Because... it's... In a way, it's maybe half correct, because... I don't know if it is, but like I see where they're coming from. Like if you can reframe a mechanic as something positive or whatever, it does feel less how do you say, like for example, you were gonna bring up Fire Emblem later, so I'm gonna bring up Fire Emblem now. In Fire Emblem, a lot of the time there's like enemies that run to get treasures or whatever, and that's a way to stress you to do it, right?
Yeah.
But it's not stressing you negatively or whatever. It's stressing you positively. I don't. Do you get what I'm kind of saying, right? Where it's like, no, it's not like, oh, you lose in 5 turns. It's like, no, I need to do this because I want the item in the chest or whatever.
You mean like positive versus negative reinforcement?
Maybe, I don't know. It's. I'm not saying that I agree with that. I just, like some designers say that that's just, you shouldn't do that. I definitely think timers are a very valid way to design things. Yeah. But like we mentioned before, they can feel a bit, what do you say, like maybe arbitrary. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, oh, you just like...
Like, I get what you're saying, but I'm not sure I agree. Because, like...
Yeah, no, I'm not saying I agree either. I'm just saying that... Yeah. I mean... I'm just saying it can get the impression of being that way, right? I'm not saying necessarily that does matter. I'm just saying that it does do that. Like, it is true. Where it sort of gives you the same thing, like you said, where it's... oh, I would beat this if I had more time or whatever. But then you could argue, well, you didn't have more time. Get good. But I'm just saying, like, I think if you're looking at it from a perspective where you can do it in another way, maybe it's better to do it in another way. If that makes sense, does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess.
But I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think that.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking.
I think it's very good that you brought up timers, because like timers is one of those things in relation to like this topic that I always start thinking of this topic when I hear people discuss timers. So it's very funny that you brought that up.
Also, it depends on genre as well, of course.
Yes,
timers are not good in turn-based genres, in my opinion. Turn timers is fine,
well,
but not.
Yeah, not like physical timers or like time timers.
Yeah, unless it's a PvP game.
Yeah. But yeah, so like, timers is a really funny example of this, because you mentioned like, oh, people will say, oh, if I had more time, I would do this without a problem. Yeah. And like, yeah, but the point of the timer is that you like can't take your time, right?
Yeah.
It's like, because the timer is there. I guess that's sort of what you were talking about maybe a bit, where it's like, you know, for example, if you have like a game where the combat is cheesable, but it just takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
If you add a timer, you can solve that, because then you
have to do it another way.
Then you have to do it fast, right? Then you can't cheese everything at least. And so I guess in that sort of situation, it can feel cheap to add a timer, right? Because it's like, oh, well, yeah, the combat system isn't very good, but there's a timer, so it like becomes good because there's a timer.
But I think it's nice that we have a bunch of episodes we can call back to them. And so we talked about story games, you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's sort of the thing I'm trying to get at with this. I feel like a timer can feel a bit out of place, right? So if it's like, oh, the world is ending and you have 30 minutes or something, right? That fits the narrative, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you get what I'm saying. Right? It fits the idea of this world that something is, happening. But sometimes it can be a bit silly, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, if it's good for the gameplay, I'm not gonna be mad. But you get what I'm saying, right? Where it's because like we said in that episode, the setting, the selling the setting is important for a game, and you can clearly see that people think that way as well, based on like what games sell and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's very like what they're used to, and like settings they're used to, but with different flavors and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And games that are very, art, what do you say, art, no art or whatever, right? That have good gameplay are perceived as worse because the art is, I mean, games are art as well, but what they're like drawn art or whatever, or modeled art, does change your perception of the gameplay a lot. Yeah. And that sort of thing, I'm not saying I don't want timers, I like timers, but I'm saying that selling timers can be hard in the setting or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like I was one of, because the thing about timers is that I didn't like timers before either, when I was like a cringe non-epic gamer, unlike now. No, just kidding. And like looking back, it's very obvious that the reason I didn't like timers was because they made me feel stressed. It's like, oh crap, I need to make decisions here about what I can do and what I can't, because I don't have unlimited time, and like, oh, I can't do this optimally because I need to do it fast as well, and so on and so on. And because of that made me stressed. But like, looking back at it, it's very obvious that that's what makes a lot of games interesting, right? I think playing RTSs a bit more seriously made me realize this. Like, I'm not a big RTS guy at all, but there was like a point a few years ago when I spent some time playing a bit of RTSs, and like I quickly realized that, like, holy crap, the like, because yeah, this is actually sort of a good point as well. It's like a lot of modern RTSs are really, really bad, right? Mm-hmm. Absolutely terrible. If you're an RTS fan, you'll probably know, when you can like write a comment about how much you hate modern RTSs. And
what do you mean? You don't like removing all aspects of the RTS out of the game, so that the players that don't like RTS can enjoy them.
Yeah. Well, that's sort of the point I was going to make, because every modern RTS I've played, the big difference between modern RTSs and old school RTSs, so like StarCraft and Age of Empires 2 or whatever.
Yeah, and you're strictly speaking about like base building style RTSs, right? With like all the, you know, base build units, find resources stuff, right? Because there's, if we're being technical, you can have like more, you know, strategic. You know,
you can have like Company of Heroes where you only have. Well, they have base building as well. Never mind.
Base building. Yeah, but it's I think those are still under the same umbrella. I would think. They're very different, but like it's a different like style of skill gameplay or whatever, right? There's different things to focus on. So, but I think both are cool.
Yeah, but the point I wanted to make was that like, I very quickly realized that the reason why modern RTSs are so bad is because, like you say, they like remove a bunch of things, and number one thing is that they like try to reduce the stress. They like try to remove the micromanagement as much as possible, and they try to make everything, you know, as frictionless as possible, like controlling everything as easy as possible, and so on and so on and so on. And like, the problem with that is that you completely lose the stress. And the problem with that is that, you know, if you go back to playing like StarCraft or Age of Empires or whatever, it's like, it's very obvious that the reason that those games are fun is because when you play them, you're super, super, super stressed. It's like,
I would argue that people that are good at it probably aren't that stressed. Like, that's the thing.
Well, maybe, yeah, but then it's
I'm
because they're
actually pretty sure they're not that stressed, because if they were, they wouldn't do like that. That's the part of the skill, right? To not be stressed about it.
Yeah, because like, I was never really an RTS guy before, and I still am not. But like, I didn't like RTSs at all before. But then when I played like the old school RTSs, it became very obvious to me very quickly that like, yeah, the reason I hate like all of these modern RTSs that I've played is because I'm like just like pressing buttons and like making the guys move, and like I'm not really thinking about anything. I'm just taking it easy and like, oh yeah, I'm gonna build some guys here and build some other guys here and then put this building down here, and you know, it's all nice and easy and whatever. And like, no, I want to be panicked. I want to be like, holy crap, I need to build like 10,000 guys or I'm gonna get raided early and I'm gonna cry because the game is gonna be over in 5 minutes, so I need to go fast. And like, that sort of that sort of gameplay is what makes RTS interesting, in my opinion. And like,
I mean, and you would still have the non-stress part with like, you know, if you're not as skilled, the people to play, right? If you play against an easy opponent or whatever, and you're bad, it's still gonna be the same stress-wise, right? As the bad designed game. So you're just gonna get a more interesting slow game instead, because people are more slow, right? I don't know if that makes sense. I think you get what I'm saying, where it's like you still have the nuanced mechanics that require stress, but since everyone is not good, it's not as stressful, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that's actually a weakness of the modern environment as well, because I feel like a lot of you know, it goes back to what we talked about last time, where people don't, like, you know, look at all these people that are really good, skilled, and they get discouraged. And I think that was less like back in the day, you would play like Age of Empires or StarCraft, right? And you would just play your friends, and you would all be bad. Yeah. Right? But it would still be fun, right? Because you would still get better, and you know, like, oh, you would win 1 week, and the next week you, like, your friend had learned a new strategy, so they would win, right? And you would get like gradually better. And I think especially the designers, you know, they just look at these pro players doing these, you know, insane things, and like, oh yeah, that's gonna stress people out because they're gonna play that way, and people don't play that way when they're new, right? So it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know.
Yeah, this actually reminds me. Do you remember the game Battle Aces?
Was it the one that was bad?
Yes, it was absolutely terrible. So
did you,
I was
you
basically
bought units, but you didn't have a base?
Yeah, No, you did have a base. So basically, I was recommended this by a person who said like, oh yeah, this is like this is like the perfect like old school RTS for people who want to get into RTSs. Like it's gonna revive RTSs because it's so what's it called?
Garbage.
It's so approachable, but it's still deep and stuff like that. And I played the game. And it was absolutely atrocious. So I don't remember exactly how it worked because it was quite a while ago. Yeah, well, that obviously sucks, but that's not really relevant. My point is that like, basically it was like an RTS, but with all of the base building micro removed. So you literally just had one single base building, and then like you had the HQ, and that was it. Yeah. And then you could place other HQs in like certain points, but there were no like other buildings. You didn't have any workers or anything like that. Technically you had workers because they were mining stuff, but they were doing all that automatically anyways, so you didn't need to micro that. So basically what it ended up being was an RTS all about microing your like soldiers. And like,
but to be fair to the game, that could be an interesting game, but then they need to do the micro really well, right?
Yeah,
like
well the problem is that
micro, right?
Yeah, well the problem is that the micro wasn't very interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like very, because the game was very counter heavy, right? Which RTSs usually are, to be fair. But like it's very much like if I have this unit, then I will beat that unit because this unit counters that and so on. And so like micro wasn't really necessary. Like obviously if you're like if you were to get really good at the game, micro would probably be necessary, right? But like compared to how I felt playing like Age of Empires or StarCraft as a noob, I was like super calm and super like I was actually bored playing that game because all I did was like right clicking my guys to go somewhere because like that's all you could do in the game. There was nothing else to do. And that's that's such a good example of like this modern RTS trend where it's like, oh yeah, we simplified it and we removed all the stress and like, because I think a lot of designers look at, a bit like what you said before, they look at really good players and they see like, oh yeah, this guy has 350 APM or whatever they call it, and like, wow, he's superhuman speed or whatever, and most people can't do that, so we need to like we need to reduce the APM requirement so that you need to click less and you need to be slow. You can be slower and it's fine and whatever. Yeah. But the problem with that is that like that stress and that like having to play fast and having to have a lot of clicks per minute or whatever is the core of an RTS.
Yeah.
And like removing all that means that there's no gameplay there, and like so you're removing the friction of having to learn how to play fast and like how to make decisions fast and like build orders and all that, because that's what all the modern RTSs do. They're like, oh yeah, it's all about the strategy, right? It's not about learning to click fast and whatever, but like that's important. That's like a fundamental of RTS games, and that's a fundamental that makes RTS games interesting. And you can't just remove that.
I'm not the best at RTS either, but I had a friend that was pretty decent at RTS, and he taught me some stuff, and like it was actually surprising how, like, by just him telling me what to do, how much better I did. But I don't remember. I think we were playing StarCraft 2 or something, and he just explained to me that no, like RTS is not like the way like this game works in his opinion, right? So not first-hand opinion, sorry. So I can't confirm or deny, but it made sense to me at least. Is that it's about, like you said, where you have this count, like you learn what everything does, and then you have an economy, right? You make sure your economy is good, and then you try to predict what the other player's doing, and then you just like try to counter what they're doing all the time, right? And the one that can keep their like everything going faster wins, right? Of course, there's more nuance to it with micro blah blah blah, right? But you get the point, right? It's like, oh, I built this and I have this many of these, and then like, so if you know where he is, or like, sorry, if you know like what they're doing or whatever, then you can be like, oh no, I'm building. You get what I'm saying, right? Yeah. So it's not. It's not necessarily this, oh, I have this deep strategy that's gonna, right? It's very like, no, you know what strategies there are. Like, there's this strategy space. But, I mean, sometimes people are clever, right? But it's like, oh, he's doing that strat, right? I need to start doing this strat to deal with this strat. And then he's like, oh no, he's doing this strat, so now I'm gonna turn my strat into this strat, right? And then you keep doing that as you learn about what the other player is doing and as you get resources. And then you try to, what do you say, like block the resources, right? So you're go ahead and stuff, right? So it's a racing game basically, right? Actually, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
I think there was another video that talked about that specifically, that like RTSs are actually racing games.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, I think it was what was that video? It was like a beat 'em up video, I think. Really good beat 'em up video.
Beat 'em up video about RTSs?
No, it was like talking about. I'll just try to say this.
Yeah, you can like
there was. He was talking about RTSs, beat 'em ups, and racing games. Right, he took them up as examples. So in theory, you will think that an RTS is a strategy game. A beat 'em up is like a I don't remember what he analogy used, but you get the point. Like, oh, that would be like a fight, you hit stuff game, right? Reflex game, and the racing game would be racing. But it was like, no, actually the RTS is the racing game, and the beat 'em up is the strategy game, right? Which makes sense if you play both those genres. You see it, right? And then I don't remember the third one. I will have to put it. So racing games was like control or something. You get what I mean? Like that's actually more about like controlling your. Oh, okay, it's not about whatever. I'll link the video below. Fuck it. I'll find it and link it. It's a good video. You should watch it actually.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that, because I was gonna mention that like I feel like a lot of modern RTS. Like designers or studios or people that make modern RTSs, they seem to be very interested in pushing RTSs into the sort of turn-based strategy space, sort of, if that makes sense. Like they want RTSs to feel like turn-based strategy games,
and that's why it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's why it doesn't work, because it's very boring and
a
like
racing game.
Exactly. And so what you end up doing then is that you make a racing game where being fast doesn't really matter, and so it's not fun anymore.
That is true.
But yeah, I did have another example that I prepared beforehand that you mentioned previously in the video, so I'm just gonna go right ahead with that, and that's Fire Emblem. Now Fire Emblem, it's a game that we're big fans of. Well, some of the Fire Emblem games at least.
One or two of them.
Yeah. Not all of them. Fate's Conquest.
I think some of the older ones are maybe decent as well. They have some issues, but I don't know.
Yes. But yeah, so basically.
Also, can I? Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, go ahead.
F Nintendo, because like, why are those games stuck on like a piece of junk that has like?
Yeah.
Sorry, Nintendo DS, but you're a piece of junk.
Yeah.
Like, why can't they port stuff? I hate developers. Oh my god.
That's a topic for another day.
That is a topic for another day.
Yeah. But yeah, so basically, one of my favorite like parts of Fire Emblem is that you have this cast of characters, and some of them are like really good when you get them, and like some of them are really bad when you get them, and like the most interesting part of the game to me is like that you need to allocate the XP, right? So like if one person kills an enemy, they are the only one who gets XP for that enemy. And so like if you kill a lot of people with one guy, then he's gonna be way over leveled compared to the rest of your party and so on. So you need to like be very careful about how you like allocate your XP, and then some people will like have higher growth rates, so they get more stats as they level up than other people. So it's maybe more worth to like have them do all the killing, or maybe not, it depends, and there's a bunch of interesting stuff there. But what I want to focus on is the like that the character who gets the kill gets the XP, because I mentioned this before. I used to play a lot of RPGs, and one of my most hated mechanics was this. Like if an RPG was like, I really liked RPGs where like XP was shared between the party equally, because I realize now after the fact that the reason I liked that was because there was friction in like having this where I need to allocate the XP. Like I need to decide who gets the last hit because they're gonna get all the XP, and like that's like more thinking that I need to do. That's more strategy that I need to consider, and therefore it's annoying because I want to be lazy. I want to play an easy game. I want to have an easy time, And so I really like it when the game just thinks for me and allocates all the XP equally to everyone. And when I played Fire Emblem, I realized like, holy crap, no, I've been wrong all this time. This is like super, super interesting because like there's so much more I need to think about, and it's like super deep because, as I said before, maybe it's worth giving the extra XP to the guy who like is weak but gets more stats when he levels up, or maybe it isn't, It depends on what builds I'm going for and so on and so on. Like, it's very interesting like how that works. And yeah, I guess it's just, the point I want to make is like, it's just a personal example of like how I clearly didn't like something, and the reason for it was because I hated gameplay, I guess. Because like there was friction and there was like extra stuff for me to consider, and there was like, it made the game harder and like stuff like that,
Yeah. I mentioned this earlier when you mentioned it to me, but in your defense, a lot of RPGs have a lot of grind.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, it sort of half makes sense that you don't want the distribution to not be distributed, because there is not really any strategy in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just,
Yeah, it's just more work, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, of course, like that's also one of the things that makes the good Fire Emblem games very interesting, right? Because there's like a cap to the XP. It's like you have these missions and you do them in order, and like if you miss any XP, yeah, you're a noob and you're not gonna get that XP and you can't grind it up, right?
Yeah. In the ones where you can't grind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. That's the good ones. But yeah, it's just like I guess it's not that deep. It's just like I feel like I've gotten better at this. I don't think I'm perfect at it at all, but like I think that gamers and game designers in general should, like, when they don't like it, they should like stop and think for a moment and think like, okay, is it because it's like a point of friction that's like causing me to like have a hard time or whatever, or is it because it's actually bad and uninteresting or whatever?
Yeah, I am well, at some point I was similar, right? But right now I am like I'm having the opposite issue or whatever. Like I'm accepting basically anything because I'm so open-minded, right? So it's like, well, this is probably interesting if I just play it more or whatever. I mean, obviously I stopped playing games, but like I'm not judging the mechanics, right?
Yeah.
In that way most of the time. But that's sort of as a player that's really good. But as a designer, if you want to do game design, that can be an issue because you obviously need to think about what other people find interesting, right? So if you find everything interesting in some way, then you sort of, it's hard to make an interesting game. Does that make sense? Right? Because people don't find everything interesting, right? So yeah, but because I think it's like in a way a lot of these perceived as good ways of doing things. I mean, we talk about this all the time, that like the modern stuff is stupid, right? But it can, there is some, how should I say this? Like looking at what other people have done and doing similar things is still valuable, because everything in the game is sort of, well, not everything, but you get what I'm saying. Most of it is sort of this, what do you say? Like it's the knowledge from the past. I'm saying this so poorly. But my point is that, how do you move the character? Well, you move it with the movement thing, okay? And in some cases that makes sense. Like for example, an arcade stick have an arcade stick, right? And that like maps really well to movement or whatever, right? But there's more more nuanced things. I don't know, like aiming with a mouse, I guess is maybe intuitive. I don't know. Or like a good example is like aiming with a gamepad, right? Aiming with a stick. It's so funny because like a lot of people bring that up where it's like, I don't remember which game it was, but the original game that did that, there was these reviews that were like, oh no, this aiming is stupid, right? And now all games have aiming done that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of tying back to the like clunky game stuff, but it goes further than that. I think because you could, in theory, I think, create an interesting system about almost anything, right? It just has to be engaging in some way, but building on what is already established is more interesting in a way, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not. We talked about this before. I'm not talking about like, oh, what if I made Dark Souls, but you can swap between 2 dimensions with a button or something. Not like that. I mean like, oh, you're building a shmup. I don't know why we're building shmups now, but we're building shmups, and looking at what the developer Cave did and trying to do sort of something similar to what they did is interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there is people that recognize that what they did was interesting, right? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Where I was going with that really, but
no, I kind of get it. So like, yeah, just play games, I guess. No.
My point, I guess, is that
yeah.
in theory, I'm not saying, obviously there are parts of the good games that are better, and that's why people play them. But in theory, like some of the games that are just not the path taken or whatever
Mm-hmm.
in history, in how we should have done game design, those could just as well been the path, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
it would be more interesting to build upon those because they have gotten further or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess, yeah, that might be a topic for the future.
For another video. Yeah. There was one more sort of point I wanted to mention, which was an article I read the other day. I believe it was on Kotaku or whatever. It was about Outer Wilds 2. Not Outer Worlds, Outer Wilds.
Which one is Wilds and Worlds? And
Outer Wilds is the space one. Outer Worlds is also the space one. Outer Worlds is like the Fallout by Obsidian,
Isn't there a third one? Outer something else?
No, there's only 2.
Okay. Something wild. I don't know. Whatever.
No, there's only one Outer Wilds.
Anyways, it's the Fallout one, right?
Yeah, it's the Obsidian.
Unreal.
Their Fallout copy. Yeah.
Fallout,
Anyway, so like, I haven't played it. I did play the original, and I absolutely hated it. But anyways, one mechanic which I've gone on record before on the podcast and said that I hate this mechanic is somewhat limited inventories.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's the typical that you see in like a lot of modern RPGs where it's like, oh yeah, there's a bunch of junk items and you pick them up, and then after a while your inventory fills up, and then you need to spend like 15 minutes reorganizing your inventory because that's fun apparently.
Or worse, they have like added mechanics to like couriers or something that sell the items for you instead of just solving the issue.
Mm-hmm. Now Outer Wilds 2, according to this article that I read, apparently removed that. So there is no inventory cap at all.
Mm-hmm.
You can have like, it's still like there's a bunch of junk items and there's a bunch of like useless weapons and stuff and gear that you can pick up, but there's no cap.
Yep.
And in this article, the author was basically arguing that it turned out that they didn't like that. They thought they were gonna like that the inventory was not capped, but they ended up not doing it because they didn't think about their inventory for like half the game, and so when they realized that they had like been picking up everything, they needed to like go back and like reorganize their inventory, and they realized that they missed a bunch of good weapons and stuff, and that they didn't like use before, or that they like picked up but they didn't realize they had because they never checked their inventory and stuff like that. Now, I don't agree with the article. I still think that like limited inventory, like somewhat limited inventories, as I'm gonna call them now, are absolutely terrible because I hate inventory management.
inventories where there is enough space to pick up some junk, but not enough.
Yeah.
Or like
Exactly.
it's not small enough to be interesting gameplay wise.
Exactly. Yeah, because very small inventories can be interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because then you actually have to like make choices about what you bring or what you keep and what you throw away. But like if it's somewhat
Especially if
limited,
it's like junk and you have to throw stuff away. Like
yeah.
yeah, or like you sell junk in
Yeah.
inventories. That's garbage.
Anyways, so like, yeah, I don't agree with the article. I think that there are way better ways to solve that. For example, not having junk items and stuff like that. But I thought it was interesting because it's sort of related to this topic, right? That, you know, I say that I hate inventory, like limited inventories, because they are a source of friction. And, you know, I have done a lot of thinking about this, and like, I have come to the conclusion that they are actually bad. It's not just like a skill issue or that whatever. So like, I actually think they're bad. It's not just like a feeling like, oh no, I hate this. It's like, no, inventory management is uninteresting. It's boring. It's not something I'm looking for in games.
I mean, it is interesting if it's a part of the gameplay.
If it's like actually, but not like that kind of stupid, you know.
I mean, I think the problem is more the picking up junk part, right?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, like you're running around the map looking for all the junk and stuff like that, so you can sell it. And,
because you need
that's
the money.
true.
So you pick up junk because you need the money. So instead of just giving you the money, which would solve it immediately. So you could have a super limited inventory and just get money for every junk piece you pick up.
Dishonored does that.
It does. It doesn't have an inventory though.
Yeah.
Like pick up inventory.
Yeah. But yeah, so I didn't agree with the article, and I still hate like this RPG somewhat limited inventory stuff. But I thought it was interesting. That's my point. It took a while to get here, but like I thought it was interesting because it's not usually something I see in like these sorts of discussions, that like, because it's usually very like, oh yeah, this is a source of friction, it's bad, remove it. And then when it gets removed, you know, people, they say, whoa, yes, this was removed. And then like 2 years later, they're like, wow, games are so boring nowadays. Why is that?
Yeah.
And like, I just thought it was very interesting. I just wanted to shout out.
It brings up a really interesting point, which is that effect, right? Where it's like, since you don't have to manage it, you ignore it, right?
Exactly.
So if you're a designer and want to explore that space in a more interesting way, that's something you should think about, right? If your game is actually, because if we're being perfectly honest, right, it's not that you can't make an interesting game where you have a semi-limited inventory and pick up junk items. It's that the games where you do that, that's sort of not the game point of the game, right? It's more right, because it's if you made like a game around like you're a junk like you're a robot picking up junk or something, and you need to manage the junk in a semi-limited,
like you're actually a scavenger,
or something, right? Maybe that's interesting. I mean, that's why they work better in like survival games, I think, right? Because not necessarily always good, but they better, right? Because it's like, well, I can only bring this much, right? It's sort of this, what I'm thinking, like Don't Starve, for example, but that is very limited actually. But Don't Starve is like a perfect example of this, right? Where it's like you have, I don't remember how many you have, like maybe 10, 15 slots of inventory or something.
Yeah, but then you can have like backpacks and stuff.
Yeah, right. But that's like you build on the right. It's about managing your like all your like your health and your food and your sanity, and do like, so you can't just take everything with you, because that's like it's part of the gameplay to plan out what you can bring where, right? And then it makes sense to have a semi-limited inventory, right? So I just don't want to be mean to the inventories, I guess, because the problem is more like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of games like MMOs or like, I don't know, Borderlands or something, right? Where it's like, oh, you pick up a bunch of literal junk that doesn't matter just to sell it later. Oh, look, your inventory is full, you can't pick up more junk. Yeah,
and you can't fast travel, and you move at half speed. I love that.
That's nice as well. Yeah, I guess. But yeah, so then you need to like leave whatever you're doing, because you don't want to, you know, all this, I'm gonna lose out on all this gold, right? If I don't leave and come back. So then you leave and come back, and then you redo the thing, and then you're back where you were, and your inventory is full again because you had to go through it again, stuff like that, right? So, yeah, I mean, you know, maybe someone likes that. That's fine. There are worse games than that, right? Blueberry picking games.
Yeah, but like. But yeah, like going back to the article, I just thought it was interesting that like I guess it's refreshing to see the you know looking at the bigger picture as we say here on the podcast. It's like, oh yeah, I didn't like removing the inventory count meant that I didn't interact with my inventory at all, and like that was boring. And like if you enjoy that inventory management stuff, like this author of this article probably does, then you know that's obviously bad that you're not interacting with the inventory. Like if you think that's interesting, and yeah, so you just shout out to the article. I'll make sure it gets linked below so you can read it if you're interested. But yeah.
Yeah, I want to touch more on, I guess, our topic, or like our main topic here, which is that they hate gameplay. This game designers hate gameplay, right? And go more into that, which is it sort of ties back into what we talked about last week, right? Where we talked about skill and blah 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 blah. And I guess it touches on a lot of things, but I don't. In a way, I don't see, or I understand why they do it. So like, what am I trying to say? Like a game like the argument I'm trying to make is I feel like there needs to be some sort of separations between these kinds of things so we can talk about them more. Like people understand what we're talking about in a better way, because like I guess on one hand think something like Vampire Survivors, for example, right? That's a terrible game in my opinion, and probably in your opinion as well, right? It's a complete waste of your time. It's just dopamine garbage, right? But it's also, in my opinion, not a video game, right? It's sort of this offspring thing from like it's from game. Is it called game theory? I don't remember. Is it right? I think no, not game theory. It's called gamification. That's what it's called, right? Where you do. Like you have a math thing, and it's like, oh, you get stars because you solved the math puzzle or whatever, right? And you do that. They do that to kids to encourage them to do math or stuff, and that's not games. That's not gameplay to me. That's something completely different. And a lot of modern stuff not only have game. What did I say? It was called gamification. Yeah. They don't. Maybe we should have clarified these terms before starting. But whatever. Gamification, right? They don't only have that. They have almost moved entirely to just being about that, right? It's sort of this very, very shallow gameplay layer, which is like pick blueberries or something, right? And then it's like, wow, you picked blueberries, 10 stars, here's your chest, oh, it exploded, look, you got the loot, oh, wow, you're so good, here's another, right? And it's... Maybe it's because I am weird and play, like, shoot-em-ups and, games that only weird people play, but I genuinely feel insulted when I play some of these games, where they're like, wow, like, I cannot... Like, multiplayer games these days... You open them up and you get like 15 like rewards just for starting them, and it's like fuck off, like you get what I'm saying, right? Where it's like
I think
where you get like an achievement, wow, you opened the game, wow, thank you.
I think like my funniest example of this is that like in Vampire Survivors, I don't remember exactly how it works, but there's like you can get like an ultra rare chest, because like usually if you get like an item drop, you get like a chest, and then
it spews
it
like
pops up and there's
for
like
10
a bunch of
seconds,
glitter and stuff. But you can get like an ultra rare chest with like ultra good items.
Doesn't it like upgrade? So it's like first a normal, and then it's like a rare, and then it's like, so you can like see as it gets more rare or something. I don't remember, because
like
that.
The thing was that like the animation for that is like absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Like it's like
it's like
30 seconds long.
Yeah, it is.
And it's like it's flashing colors, and there's glitter spraying everywhere, and there's gold, and there's stars, and there's like explosions, and like when I saw that animation thing, I was like, okay, I get it. This could have been like a 2-second opening the chest animation. Like I'm not. Yeah, exactly. It's like it's like I'm not a child that like needs to be like blasted with flashing colors.
Yeah, that's
it's okay.
sort of how it feels actually.
Yeah. So yeah, I absolutely agree.
But to be very clear, I think these things should be allowed to exist. I'm not that kind of like, oh no, you can't have addicting things. Like there should be any addicting thing. No. These things can exist. The problem is that they're talked about in this sort of way where, you know, that to me it's sort of insulting to put like, I don't know, say a deep like Final Fight and Vampire Survivors in the same category, right? Yeah. And it's like, no, these are not the same thing. I'm sorry, right? I guess it goes back to our favorite food analogy that no one cares about, where it's like, this is the gourmet chef, this was the gourmet chef side, right? With the like, I don't even, what is it called? The like star thingy, that chef stuff. Michelin star thing, right? And this is like McDonald's, and it's like, no one is gonna go and say that these are comparable in any way, right? Yeah. So it sort of bothers me that because it requires a different kind of designer as well, right? That's the sort of problem, like and that's why I'm getting to the point where it's like they hate gameplay, right? Because this kind of game does hate gameplay, because gameplay is friction that gets in the way of the gamification mechanics, right? Yeah. So you want it to be very basic. You want it to be like, no, you're picking blueberries, but it's like, what do you say? Like it's skinned. What do you say? Yeah, like it's not actually picking blueberries. It's like killing a god or something, right? Yeah. But what you're actually doing is like you're.
I mean, haven't there
it's
been
the like rat thing, you know, right? Tap the button and get the
Skinner box stuff.
Yes, yeah.
But like, isn't there like a fairly popular? I don't remember what it's called, but it's like it's sort of a Balatro clone, so it's like a roguelite with like it's a roguelite synergy builder, but it's literally like slots. I don't remember what it's called. Yeah. But it's like that's sort of a perfect example of that, because it's like, okay, so now it's literally just gambling but with meta progression. Yeah. But it's fine because there's no money involved, guys, and it's like, no, not really. It's still like kind of addicting and shitty design and like a waste of your time and
And again, we've said this millions of times, and the people, I don't even know why I keep repeating it, because the people that are actually listening, they understand this. It's the people that are just commenting or saying stuff without listening that, you know, obviously it's fine to play addicting stuff, like if you want to, right? It's just that it's not good.
I
don't know.
I mean,
in my opinion,
I think the food example is like
it still stands.
A perfect example, because like if I walked up to like Gordon Ramsay or whatever and said, hey, so like your cooking sucks, look at these chicken nuggets, bro, and I open a McDonald's chicken nuggets,
no one would like, do that.
But like in gaming that actually happens like regularly. So it's like it's very interesting. And
I would even say it's problematic, because like I'm trying to argue about argue sounds very discuss things like gameplay. Yes, right. But that's not what most people are after, which is fine. Again, and I think the perfect example of this is like you do some gamification combined with a story or whatever, right? I see why the appeal in that, right? It's sort of like a movie, but you know, they're like you're wasting a bit more time, but it's a movie, right? We've talked about this before, where like personally, I don't think like The Last of Us and stuff like that is that interesting because it's just. To be fair, I'm not completely sure what I feel about because I haven't played it, so I don't know exactly what the story is. But from what I've heard, it's like a decent story with a like very very uninteresting game part, right? That you just have to go through to get I've never heard someone. Maybe there is one. If you are one of them, please tell us why in the comments. I've never heard someone say that, oh, The Last of Us gameplay is like this amazing, interesting gameplay loop where you can do all this really interesting stuff, right? I haven't heard that. Maybe you have.
Probably, but like not from people who like play a lot of games.
Yeah, but like, I think they like what I mean is like they genuinely only care about the gameplay loop. They're like they're not like at all. The story is not part of it. Like they don't even care about the story. They're just the gameplay is all of it. Because like again we've talked about stories, right? The way you perceive the world and the story affects how you feel about the gameplay. So obviously you're gonna enjoy shittier gameplay if the world is more interesting. This goes for good games as well, right? If a good game has a really good setting and like all of this stuff, right? It's gonna be better than it is because of that, right? That makes sense. I'm just, you know, if we start to looking at, it's the balance there with the gameplay versus the story. And I get that a lot of people care a lot about the story because most people are not interested in video games. I understand that. And that's fine. That's the thing, right? That's why I'm saying that these things need to be more categorized. Like we've talked about this before, right? Where we want, like, it's a bit silly that something like Counter-Strike is in the same category as something that like The Last of Us, right? Because it's like a movie versus like a game of football.
It's kind of like saying that chess and football are the same thing. And it's like, no, it's not.
So it's hard to talk about, is my point, right? It is very hard to talk about because people mean so many different things. And when I say something, they might, I mean, it's fine, they can think what they want, right? But it might not apply to whatever they're thinking of, right? Because it's so broad or whatever. Sorry, now you can go ahead.
So there was one thing that I sort of remembered when you mentioned The Last of Us, which is very very topical to today's topic. It's very relevant to today's topic, which is that I believe The Last of Us, I don't know if it's both of them, but I think at least one of them, probably both, they have this like because the gameplay, you know, is that you're like this person who's a survivor in the zombie apocalypse, and you need to scavenge, and you need to like look out for zombies, and then there's humans that wants to kill you too, and like so scavenging for like ammo and stuff and health packs and stuff is a big part of the game, but the problem is that
they do the Half-Life thing.
Yeah, they do the Half-Life thing, where like if you need health, if you're low on health or if you're low on ammo, you're more likely to get an ammo pack. And like.
And that's such a sign, by the way, that they're not interested in the gameplay when you design it that way. It's just the flow stuff, right? Like, keep you there so you can get to the next story beat, right? Sorry, continue.
Yeah, because I think there's like a pretty famous like Reddit or Twitter post or whatever about this. Like someone ranting about like, oh yeah, I was playing The Last of Us and I was like trying to conserve my ammo as much as possible, and I was playing like a real stone cold killer who was like super careful, and then I realized that like, oh wait, if I waste my ammo I get more ammo, so nothing that I do matters. And like I think that's like such a good point, and it goes back to this like today's topic, like game designers hate gameplay. It's like game designers are actively advocating for this. They're like, oh well, of course you're gonna get more ammo if you're low on ammo, because then otherwise it's boring if you can't shoot. But like, what's the point of having the ammo pickup like system at all? Then there's no scavenging. Like that's not gameplay. That's just like, you know, it's probably because like you know, as with this like inventory stuff that we discussed before, it's like super fun, you know, dopamine to like go looting and finding stuff and whatever, so they keep that in the game because like they did some study that like people like that. And but like gameplay wise, it's like not relevant. Like if you have health pickups, and like limited health, and then you make it so that you get more health pickups if you're lower on health, then you might as well just remove the health pickups. Like there's no point in having them because you're not interested in having that. Yeah, exactly. Because you're not actually interested as a designer to like have them. You're not interested in the gameplay that brings. You're just having it because like other games have it or something like that.
It's the aesthetic.
Exactly.
Or like lying.
It's like
lying. I feel like that's a big thing that I don't know why people are not bothered by it, but it's I think it has actually gone down a bit recently, but I could be wrong. The like it got worse as the like 20s. Yeah, but like the like constant like the and being proud of it, like lying to the player and being proud of it. Like we talked about the like rigging RNG.
Yeah.
And
Sid Meiering is the
Sid
term.
Meiering, yeah. I don't understand how you end up there because it's really, to me, it's very strange. Like I can't. A lot of the time, I can be like, oh well, I can sort of see. I think, but okay, I was gonna say I can't see how they're doing it that way because now I realize I can because I can motivate it in the same way as I motivate. Like I perceive them motivating everything else, which is by lying to the player, they are gonna stay and play longer, right?
And there's less friction.
Yeah, there's less friction. But the point is, as a designer, right? Don't you want to like? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I feel like a lot of game designers these days, they are not designers. They're like psychologists or whatever, right?
Yeah.
That's what they're interested in. You can hear that when they speak. Like if you listen to like GDC talks, they're talking very much like about psychology stuff, right? Where it's like, oh, interesting. If you do this, you can trick people into doing this or whatever, right? It's all about tricking the player all the time, right? How you know what I mean, right? Where it's like, oh, we have this thing we want the player to do. How do we trick the player to do it, right? That's that's their what do you say, agenda of the talk or whatever, right? Or you get what I'm saying, right? Where it's and that approach is so strange to me because I mean, I get it. They're not game designers. They just want to make you waste your time and they want to make a lot of money or whatever. I don't know what they want. They don't want to make interesting games, that's for sure. They probably don't even play. I mean, maybe they play games. I don't know. I feel like less and less people that do games play games these days, especially seriously. So that's definitely a topic for another time. But I think it makes sense that game designers are less gamers. Like we've talked about that as well. Like they used to be gamers, right? But it makes sense because the like industry has grown so fast, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense that less. If something grows fast, like if something makes a lot of money really fast, it doesn't have time to like filter out, right? So obviously you get a bunch of people that shouldn't have positions or whatever, right? Because there is just so much growth, right? There's just so much interest in games that you don't even need to be good at what you're doing to, like, you just need to be at the right place at the right time or whatever, right? So it makes sense. But yeah, we're starting to get to that point now, right? Where people are like, people are not buying these garbage games, right? that are coming out for these prices or whatever, right? And it's because now there's like, because there's been a lot of technology that have stopped people, right? For example, right? But now it's like, no, now we have all these engines and all these tools. So now we need to actually experiment with gameplay. And now, people are failing left and right because they haven't had to think about gameplay. Like the growth have just kept them going, right?
I'll actually have to like perhaps slightly controversial take here.
Sure, go ahead.
But I'm gonna have to give some credit to like Friendslop games.
Oh yeah, no, that's not controversial at all. No, they for sure.
Yeah, because I understand why they're popular because they're actually like focusing on gameplay. It's like sure, it's a bit silly and a bit low effort.
No, like it's like not at all.
Well, it depends on the game.
But you can go ahead first, but I want to clarify one thing about that.
Go ahead.
No, so I was kind of I think first of all, I think it's dumb that it's called French slop, because it's not slop,
Mhm.
it's actually games. And
Yes.
I actually wanted to talk about this at some point, but so I guess we're talking about it now,
Mhm.
which is that if it makes sense that they're popular. No, they're not slop games. They are way more interesting than like. Okay, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that the amount of effort in the art and code and audio design of these games might be lower, yes, right? Or they used some finished, like pre-made assets, right? Yeah, these big companies have huge budgets for all of these things, right? And they have figured out how to do these things because that's the only thing they know how to do. But the game design part of these games are actually a million times more like, what do you say?
Like
Effort, like the
actually
game design
gameplay.
effort
Yeah.
in these
Mhm,
games
mhm.
is huge compared to most AAA games, right?
Yeah.
Huge. So no, I would not call them slop games. Yes, the art or whatever is slop, or like it's not even slop. You get what I'm saying? Like they didn't hire and like experienced artists to do the art, or maybe they didn't spend as much time on the art, right? But they did spend that time on the design, which is what you want out of video games, which is why this is a good business model for video games, because then you can put out cheap games, right? The stupid thing about these huge games is that they cost so much to do, and then so they don't want to do any like fancy game design because they're scared, and also because no one knows how to do it at these places, right?
Yeah. No, I agree. I was looking at like this was a long time ago. Well, not a long time ago, but like not recently. I was looking at like someone playing Lethal Company because I've never played it before.
Yeah.
And like I was actually impressed because that's like I would
mean,
sort
they're
of
not
call
flawless,
that
right? But they
yeah,
are
yeah,
interesting.
absolutely. Like I would call Lethal Company like a funny moment farming game. You know,
Yeah.
does it make sense?
Yeah.
So it's like it's not like the nicest thing I could ever say about that game, but like if you look at it from a funny moment farming game, it's actually like pretty well designed because there's so much you can do to like troll your friends
Yeah.
and like make them think that there's a monster hunting them and stuff like that, and like scare them. And so like, you know, for the kind of game that it is, they're like actually doing a pretty good design job.
Yeah.
But then there's of course like I think I haven't actually played it, but I actually think that I'm gonna play it sometime because I think it actually looks fun, which is Chained Together, which is like, you know, once again it's like really bad graphics, really low effort graphics and stuff like that, but it actually looks like fun. It's like a platformer and you're chained together with your friends and like you need to like time everything and you're ruining it, and it's like it's like actually a good idea and it actually sounds fun.
Yeah.
And like it gets such a bad rep because it's like low effort art wise, as you said, but
Yeah,
like
it's very
I think it looks
interesting
fun.
actually that is the case. I don't know why people can't distinguish those things, right? Where it's like, no, there's like interesting gameplay here or whatever. Like people are, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe we'll
obviously
have to do
there's
an episode on that.
bad friendslop games as well, right? I'm
Yeah.
not saying all of them are good, but there's definitely more gameplay in them than most other games.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you have anything else you want to mention? Or
I had something, but I forgot what it is, so I guess I'll
You
save
forgot.
it for next week.
Yeah.
Unless I remember. Wait, give me 5 seconds.
Okay.
No. I give up.
You give up before the 5
Yeah,
seconds
I
pass.
can't
Yeah.
remember.
No. But yeah. That's all from us today. Thank you for watching. What do you think? Leave a comment if you have any thoughts about game designers and their opinion on actual gameplay. And yeah, leave a like, subscribe, leave a dislike too. Thanks for listening, everybody. Goodbye.